Hello students, welcome back to physics class. And as you can see that again today we'll be talking about the summary of the contents that we have already studied. Okay, so in physics regarding grade 11 we are about to finish our fourth chapter, that is motion in a plane. Okay, and within few days you people are having your half yearly examination also, and in that till chapter number 3 I told you that it will be coming. Okay, so let's talk about the summary of the contents from the very starting that we have studied in grade 11. So the first chapter is physical world. Physical world, in physical world what we have studied? In physical world we have studied about the definition of physics. We have studied about the scope of physics, that what are the different branches of physics, and in that we have classified our study on the basis of micro and macro. On the basis of micro and macro, that is how to study the micro particles which are there in the nature, and what are the tools that we are having in physics to study the macro particles which are there in nature. And I further classified the branch of physics basically in two broad ways. That is, first if we want to study about some macroscopic particle, then we use the tool of classical mechanics, or we study the branch of classical mechanics that perfectly defines any macroscopic object which is there in nature, about its dynamics, about its motion. Okay, and similarly in case of microscopic particles, for example bosons and fermions, I told you that we are having the most important weapon which is there in the physics is that the branch of quantum mechanics, and by using that we can analyze the wave function of a particle. Wave function tells about the property of the particle at certain position, at certain time. Okay, it tells about the property of that particle at certain position at specific time. Okay, so I told you that it is denoted by psi, and there are some properties of the psi. Okay, there are some properties of the psi that we are not required to study here in our class 11. It is a part of the higher studies. So we have classified briefly that how we can study the microscopic particle and how we can study the macroscopic particles, and we have talked many things. We have talked about the contributions of many scientists who are there, who have given the contributions in quantum mechanics and who have given the contribution in classical mechanics. Okay, so Einstein was a scientist who gave his theory of relativity. In quantum mechanics he applied the theory of relativity to analyze the dynamics of the particle. Similarly, there was a scientist known as Schrödinger. He gave the Schrödinger wave equation, in which by putting that psi, that is the wave function of the particle, that tells about the property of the particle, and by putting psi in that Schrödinger wave equation, we will be getting the energy of the particle. We will be getting the energy of the particle at certain time. Okay, at certain place, at certain time, at certain position. So energy is simply known as the state function. It is the state function, okay, of any particle, and that we can study in quantum mechanics. Okay, and that is studied for microscopic particle, that are bosons and fermions. Okay, I told you in brief also the classification of elementary particles, that how the small microscopic particles are classified under bosons and fermions. So in fermions I told you that in today's world we know the electron comes. Okay, and there are many different classification further which can be done in bosons and fermions also. So there are numerous of elementary particles which are there found in the nature. And then we have studied about some type of the forces which are there in nature. In chapter number 1 only I am talking about. Okay, so it is very important for students that they should know that how many types of the forces acts in nature. So we have classified our force into 4 types. Okay, first was gravitational force, second was electromagnetic force, third was strong force, and the last one was weak force. Okay, so these all things we have studied, and I told that instead of using the term force with any gravitation or with any electromagnet word, it will be much better for us. It will be much better for us if we will be using the term interaction. Interaction in between the two bodies, interaction in between the two particles. Why I am using the term interaction? Because there is some transfer of some particles which are there in between the two bodies. Okay, for example, if we talk about the gravity term, okay, if we talk about the gravity term, then in gravity term what happens in between the two masses, what happens, there is a transfer of the particles. There are the transfer of the particles which are separated, two masses are separated at some distance, and that takes a transfer of the particles in between the two masses. What do you mean by the transfer of the particles? I mean to say that there will be a transfer of some elementary particles which are there inside those matter. Okay, inside this mass m1, inside this mass m2, there are some elementary particles which flows in between, which transfers in between these two masses in case of gravity, and such particles are known as gravitons. And I also told you that study is still going on those elementary particles. Still it is undefined, but few properties has been known regarding gravitons, that they are massless particle. Okay, they are chargeless particle. So similarly, in case of electromagnetic interactions also, what happens, there is some transfer of particles in between them, some transfer of elementary particles in between them. And in case of strong interactions also, in case of weak interactions also, there are some interactions of the particles which are there. So in gravitation we have defined a force. We have defined a force that will be in between the two bodies of different mass separated by some distance, and that is also known as the universal law of gravitation. That force has been given under the topic of universal law of gravitation. In that we have studied that F is equals to G into m1 m2 upon r square. R is the distance in between the two objects. Okay, taking the distance from center to center, that I told you. And I told that many properties are there in the gravitation force. Okay, that they are long range force and they are always attractive in nature. Okay, so these all things we have studied. And then we came in the electromagnetic force. Okay, so in electromagnetic force, I gave you the example of electromagnetic waves. Okay, electromagnetic waves which are found in our daily, in our nearby world. Okay, so those waves associate what, electric field as well as magnetic field with them. Okay, so it is just because of the motion of any charged particle which is there in the nature. Okay, so if there will be any motion of the charged particle there in the nature, so it will associate some value of magnetic field and electric field. And I also told you that what is the definition of that. Okay, and I gave you one practical example of that electromagnetic force which acts in nature. For example, F is equals to QV cross V. This expression I have written. Okay, this expression I have written where force, the F represents the force, Q represents the charge moving with velocity V, and vector B represents the magnetic field. Okay, and in that what I tried to show that there is a projection of the particle, a particle entering into the magnetic field, and magnetic field has some direction. So what will be the direction of that force that the particle will experience in that case? Okay, so sometimes the particle may move in the downward direction in a circular way, and sometimes it may move in the upper direction in a circular way. So that was depending upon the direction of the magnetic field. And then we came and we talked about the third type of the force, that was strong force. Okay, that was strong force. So in strong force also, what we have studied in strong force, we have studied that those are the forces which are found inside the nucleus, that helps the nucleus to bind in a very perfect way, that helps the nucleus to keep its stability. And then at the last we have seen that there is another type of the force that we observe, that is the weak force, and that is mostly observed in beta decays. Okay, I have drawn many chemical reactions also, and that I try to show that what is beta decay. Okay, And after finishing chapter number 1, we came to units and measurements. Okay, we came to our second chapter, that is units and measurement. Although we have completed the second chapter in the very beginning, but according to that series I am coming from the first chapter, then I am coming to the second chapter. So in second chapter we have defined our physical quantities. Okay, what are physical quantities? And I gave you the definition also, that they are the product of two things, that is one numerical value and the other is unit. Okay, and I defined the units also, and I defined different unit systems also. Okay, for example, MKS unit system, CGS unit system, FPS unit system. Okay, and I have defined SI system also, and we have given some standard values of the units in SI system. Okay, in SI system we have mentioned some of the standards value of the units also, that are universally accepted. Okay, those are universally accepted. And then we further classified the physical quantities into three types. Okay, we have classified the physical quantities into three types. That is, first is what? Fundamental physical quantity. Second was what? Derived physical quantities. And the third one is what? The supplementary physical quantities. Okay, so we have talked about a total 7 type of basic fundamental physical quantities. Okay, that we have talked. So you people might be knowing. And then after we came on the derived physical quantities, and by taking the help of only those 7 fundamental physical quantities, we have seen that what are the application of the basic 7 fundamental physical quantity to get the derived physical quantities. Okay, so 7 fundamental physical quantities I have named. Okay, first was length, second was mass, third was the time, fourth one was electric current, and then comes the thermodynamic temperature, and then come about the amount of substance, and then seventh was luminous intensity. And we have given the SI symbol of also. Okay, length corresponds to m. Okay, similarly mass corresponds to kg, time corresponds to second, current corresponds to ampere, it is denoted by A. So different symbols we have tabulated. Okay, you people might have written in the notes when we were doing the online lecture. In that we have studied all these things, and with the help of only length we have seen some derived physical quantities. Okay, for example we have studied about the units of the derived physical quantities also. As we have studied the fundamental physical quantities, the symbol and the units, that is the unit of length is meter, the unit of mass is kg, the unit of time is second. In the same way, they were the unit of fundamental physical quantities. Similarly, we have seen the unit of derived physical quantities also. Okay, and in derived physical quantities, first quantity that we have discussed was area. Okay, and area is represented by A, and that is equals to some value which will be the numerical value of length into breadth. Okay, this comes like this. So length also has the unit of m, and breadth also has the unit of m, that is meters. Okay, so when this and this will be multiplied, for example, there is n1 numerical value, there is n2 numerical value, this may be giving some n numerical value. Okay, let this be 2 and this be 3 meters. So 2 into 3 will be coming 6 meters. So after doing the multiplication of these numerical values, these units also get multiplied. So we were getting the unit of area as meter square. So this was the derived units. Okay, this was the derived unit, and similarly we have discussed many examples of derived unit. Okay, and then at last we came on supplementary physical quantities. Okay, at last we came on supplementary physical quantities, and there we have studied 2 types of supplementary physical quantities. First was the 2-dimensional angle, and the second was the 3-dimensional angle, and we have given the proper units also. So this was the few things about the units and measurement, and then we have seen that how to convert one physical quantity into another physical quantity. Okay, to convert one physical quantity into another unit physical quantity by giving the symbols of fundamental units. Okay, we have given certain symbols of fundamental units. For example, I have given the fundamental units of mass m as bracketed m. I have shown the fundamental unit of length as bracketed L. I have shown the fundamental unit of time as bracketed T. So on the basis of M, L and T, we have studied all these things about the conversion, and then we have studied about the dimensions also after giving the certain symbols to fundamental units. Okay, you can go back and you can see my videos that in a very detailed way we have discussed all these things. And we have studied the dimensions that are very important of this entire chapter, that is unit and measurement. And in dimensions we defined that they are the powers. Dimensions are the powers to which the fundamental units are raised. Okay, so the powers on the fundamental units, okay, we have assigned certain symbols to the fundamental unit by applying the bracket term. For example, for fundamental unit m, we have denoted it by symbol bracket m. For fundamental unit n, we have denoted it by bracket n. For fundamental unit of t, we have denoted it by bracket t. So we are giving the certain powers to a, b, and a, m, l, and t like this. Okay, so they are the constant value. The powers are the constant value that we will be giving, and such things are known as dimensions. And on this basis only, we have studied about different dimension formulas based on the formulas we know in the physics. Okay, we have calculated different dimensional formulas based on this concept of dimensions only. And then the second most important thing which comes in this unit and measurement is the concept of significant figures. Okay, we have studied about significant figures, and we have studied certain rules that how to decide that which number will come after the decimal. Okay, if we are required to calculate our reading till 2 number of the decimal place, so what will be the first numbers? For example, after decimal there are numerous of the numbers which we are having in our observation, and we have to reduce that numerous number which are coming after the decimal only till 2 decimal place or till 3 decimal place. So there are certain rules that how will we assign the numbers which are there till 2 number of the decimal place, till 3 number of the decimal place. Okay, so we have studied 5 to 6 rules which are there in the significant figure that will decide that what will be the third number after the decimal, that will decide that what will be the second number after the decimal. So there are certain rules. You can go and view my videos, okay, and you can flip your the pages which are there in your book, and you can see there also. And then we came on the third chapter, that is motion in a straight line. And that was really a very interesting chapter, and in that what we have seen about the motion of a particle or motion of a body in a very straight line manner. And we have studied further about the uniform case also and for the non-uniform case also. And in that only we have discussed 3 types of the graph. Okay, we have discussed 3 types of the graph, that is time displacement graph, time velocity graph, and time acceleration graph. Okay, these all things we have discussed. And correspondingly, I told you last time also in my summary video that how we calculate the velocity content from time displacement graph. And I told you that the slope of the graph in case of uniform motion, the slope of the graph in case of uniform motion, if we are talking about in time displacement, the slope of this line corresponding to certain time interval will be giving the velocity. Okay, slope means tan theta. Tan theta means perpendicular component upon base component. So for specific time interval, for example 0 to time t1, we can calculate the slope. Okay, so correspondingly we will be matching this displacement also, that in this t1 time how much the body has been displaced from the origin. And from there we have calculated what the velocity term. Similarly, when we were talking about time velocity graph, from there we have calculated the acceleration. Okay, from there we have calculated the acceleration also. So, and similarly in case of what? In case of that time acceleration graph also, we have calculated the magnitude of what? Displacement and magnitude of velocity. And further we have seen many things. Further we have seen many things regarding motion in a straight line. And then we have talked about the different components of the physical quantities, that what will be the average velocity, what is the instantaneous velocity for specific graph, okay, what is the instantaneous acceleration, what is the average acceleration. So I told you that average is calculated just for the required length, for a long length which a particle is covering. But for any instant of time, when an observer is with you, he is observing the experiment or he is doing the experiment, then at any instant he note down the reading of the velocity, okay, within a time of nanosecond, okay, in a very infinitesimally very small time. So that was the case of instantaneous velocity, that was the case of instantaneous acceleration. And I told you that in that case, if such type of the non-uniform graph we are getting for our long curve, for our long motion, then this case, that is, if this is the time axis, this is the velocity axis, let us say, okay, this is the velocity axis, or if this is the displacement axis, okay. So in this required time interval, we will be calculating what? We will be calculating the average velocity by calculating the slope of this dotted line, okay. But if you want to reduce ourselves, if you want to calculate the instantaneous velocity at time t1, let us say, okay, so this entire area will be reduced to a single line like this, okay. That means for t tending towards 0, we will be calculating what? We will be calculating the velocity, and that's why I have shown that velocity, instantaneous velocity, is denoted by what? Velocity is equal to displacement upon time, okay, that is dd or dx upon dt, okay. If I suppose that this is the x-axis, that is the displacement axis, so velocity is what? Velocity is equals to displacement upon time, okay. Now delta has been replaced by what? D factor, that shows the instantaneous time. We have to apply what? For instantaneous, we have to apply limits del t tends to 0. These all things we have discussed in a very detailed way, and we have solved many questions also regarding it, okay. And after that we have talked about the relative velocity, okay, relative velocities of the two objects, those are moving, okay. So the relative velocity, if you want to calculate the relative velocity between the two objects, so we are using the formula. If suppose that one object is A and the other object is B, so velocity of object A with respect to object B we have denoted by VA minus VB like this, if those are moving in the same direction like this, okay. For suppose I have given you the example of two moving train with different velocities in the same direction. So if you want to calculate the velocity of train A with respect to train B, so we will be using this formula. Similarly, the velocity of B with respect to velocity of A, we will be writing what? VBA, and then we will be writing VB minus VA. Okay, so these all things and many questions, almost all the questions from the NCERT we have discussed, okay, in the live class only. And this was all about the three chapters which I have decided that I will be giving in the exam. Although I am completing the fourth chapter, okay, I am completing the chapter number 4 also, and within 1 or 2 days we will be discussing all the NCERT problems which are there, okay, and within 1 or 2 days we will be completing this fourth chapter also. But according to your convenience, according to students as well as according to the teacher's convenience, I am giving till chapter number 3, that is motion in a straight line, okay. So this was all about today's summary video. I hope that you people have understood. And one thing more which I want to tell you people, that the pattern of the board has been changed slightly, and that's why we are making the paper on the basis of the board only, okay. So all the question which will be coming there in your yearly exam will be multiple choice question, okay. So just be prepared and go through every content which is there written in the notes and in the book. So because the question, if there is a multiple choice question, then question can be asked from anywhere in the book, okay. So it can be asked even from a single line which may be written at the bottom or at the top, which you may ignore if you hurry up to complete your syllabus, okay. So just be cautious and just open up your mind and go just do a thorough study of the entire syllabus which is coming, okay. So best of luck everyone, okay. Thank you.